Hey everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on the Tube, or welcome back. And this is your 15th The Rookie Season 8 episode review. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe out there in the bigger world. We're at the tail end of the season. We're approaching the end. I believe at the time of when I'm recording this, the penultimate episode came out, so we're almost caught back up. We should be good to go for the finale. We'll do our usual end of the season rigmarole at the end here. But yeah, no, it's kind of season 8 has progressed. It is almost done. I think I said this at the top of the season. Like, this season's gonna go by so fast because this is how time works. And yeah, we've done now. We're doing our 15th review of the year of the season, and it's quite interesting. It's quite an interesting time for life in general, and just the state of TV right now. I feel that we're in a much more better, positive place than we were a few years ago. Obviously, there's still the looming threat of AI. There's still the looming threat of budgeting and monies and the larger world, but the rookie's still there to kind of put a smile on my face, to put a chuckle on my face, which is what this episode did. We returned back to our true crime documentary style episodes, which I know for some fans have been a little bit more on the sprouts of the interwebs. That's been a little hit or miss sometimes. Kind of derails from the whole the whole point of the rookie is this is again, it goes back to the reason why I even wanted to even watch the rookie back in 2018. This is not advertised as a procedural show. A procedural show, it doesn't feel like, because they have a set style. They don't do these types of specialty episodes. And I think that's what makes the rookie unique as a result, to have these sort of episodes. Obviously, I know this season has been plagued with specialty episodes. And I understand that. I really do. But again, when you are approaching 8 seasons of a TV show, you kind of need to do what you need to do to kind of, not be stuck in a rut. You got to constantly innovate, constantly bring in new people, continuing the larger story that you have been building yourself since the very beginning, because you never want to alien your OG fans. But at the end of the day, you still got to bring in new fans. And again, that's how the show is even on season 9. This is how we're even here right now. It's like because of these moments. So yeah, when you get to they're never gonna hit the classic, but honestly, with this one, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think this was a nice fresh pace. The way they kind of it's like the true crime documentary kind of has like a true storyline for like a mini storyline, like the last episode kind of informs the rest. And honestly, considering this is kind of like for me as my platform of What's in the Tube, we've kind of come into like a very weird intersection, which I never anticipated. Like, if you were to tell me 5 years ago that this was gonna happen, you'd be crazy. You'd be so crazy. And it also showcases the true power of the rookie and the true power of a paycheck. But with that being said, let's go through the budget recap and talk about this week's episode of The Rookie. We pick right back up in Nolan's house. Actually, not yet. We start off with some B cam footage of Nolan and Selena responding to a house call. Emergency alert came out of a man yelling, screaming, supposedly in pain. They arrive into the household. They look into the deeper insides of it, and they find a man in a very shrouded room claiming that he cannot die, that whatever's inside of him won't let him die. And he's pleading and pleading, like, just leave me alone, like, let me do what I gotta do. And obviously Nolan and Juarez are like, look, you need to call emergency service right now. There's no way you're not gonna get through this, from with a piece of cake. And the man's like, nope, look, watch, I will pull this knife out and I will be alive. And he pulls the knife out and he dies. And then we cut to the actuality of what's going on, because the true crime documentarian, aka in-universe Alex Hardy, creator of the show, is performing another round of another true crime documentary, as he's getting decently paid out of it. However, though, as I said before, there is a through line with the true crime documentary episode, is that the Nolan's almost daughter-in-law, which we returned to last season when we went from the asylum episode last season, where she returned. Obviously, her and I forgot Nolan's son's name. Damn, it's been so long since we've seen him. After they broke up, she's kind of been on her own path, doing her own thing. So apparently, because she shot, as we remember, her supplementary footage for her own documentary, and the documentarian here accidentally used it in his documentary, she claimed Obviously, like, breach of IP, using her image, using her footage without her consent. And the judge ruled either you pay her for her damages or you include her as a collaborator on your next documentary. And he chose the latter because he ain't got that type of money. So yeah, now they're working together. They're doing the interviews together as, paying the bills, so to speak. And yeah, he's not too happy with that. Not too happy with that. He's kind of like had his own style since the very beginning. So having her bring in, and that's why I said it's a bit of a fresh air, a bit of a fresh perspective. And they talk about the case to continue it. Obviously, everyone in Mid-Wilshire is back along. Sad to say Miles is not part of this one, nor Bailey. And again, casting choices aside, I mean, I don't know what's going on with Miles. It's kind of like deja vu. This is just a brief aside. Like I remember back in season 5 of The Rookie, where was it season 5? I think so. It was season 5 or season 4 at the end of season 4. Actually, yeah, it was season 4 because I was just reviewing it recently. Where like as soon as Aaron's storyline was kind of over, he kind of was like very shocked. It had very much random cameo appearances throughout episodes. This kind of what it feels like Miles hasn't been like really like he's in a prominent moment in this episode, and then he's just completely disappeared. And I know I talk about like it's okay for like officers to be on days off and not to be involved in the case, but like considering how long this case specifically went for, I was actually surprised Miles wasn't a part of it at all. Like, and I know Bradford said last time in the last episode that Miles was off doing something else related to his training that he was just going to be offsite for. Again, I don't know. They never explained that. It was just a way of like, we don't have the money for him this week, so we're gonna push him to the side on this one. But everyone's like chiming in about the case. Apparently, the victim, though the one that stabbed himself in the chest and the heart area, actually turned out to be, if anyone remember the episode where this was so long ago. And I applaud them for like going back to like, this is what I said, like even if it's like a long running show, even if you're still trying to do new things to catch your audience member, you're still respecting what you did in the past and kind of bringing it back in the modern perspective. Where if you remember the episode where I believe it was, I don't remember if it was Aaron. I think it was Aaron, where like they were looking for the Survive the Streets training videos, which were like police training videos, and the person actually came back. This was him. He was the original officer actor who portrayed in those videos back in the day. And obviously, we've had a lot of scuttlebutt, but like they're very dated. They no longer apply to current policing, and like some of them more like disregarded as a result. And I believe they were trying to shoot a whole new batch of them to get to be utilized in the actual Mid-Wilshire station. I remember that entire thing. So he was part of it. So he was the victim. He's kind of had a whole complicated history where during the time period he was a very stable officer, not too many issues, but as time goes on, his questionability, his standards kind of became in the red as he started diving into more conspiracy theories that kind of affected his workload. But he was still an officer of the law, don't get me wrong, but obviously they kind of pushed him aside to put him off active duty by a certain point. And this wasn't the first time that he was reported dead. Apparently, about 4 to 5 years ago, around that time period, he supposedly died in a boating accident, and his only survivor was his wife, who turned out to be one of the recurring female cast members who was on the videos, who strangely only got married to him 5 days before he dies. Obviously, they looked at her as a potential subject at the time, and she said, "No, like I am a grieving wife. I am in the middle of my process. How dare you blame me? How dare you accuse me?" And then, fast forward to years later, now they saw the body. He's now dead again. She clearly lied, and this time she said, I lied at the time. But it wasn't because I was had malicious intent and I hated him. It was of the contrary, he was going for this whole thing. He needed to kill himself. He needed to get off the grid. And, he wanted someone to at least be his patsy to support his death claim, which happened to be me. So we got married quickly. I was written into all the pension, all the life insurance policies, and he faked his death. And then I got named this, so I got the money and he got the ability to kind of go undercover, so to speak. So exactly why he went undercover, we'll find out about it in a second. Back to the night where Nolan Juarez found him killing himself, essentially speaking. Chen arrives as the supervisor. They look into the garage. Apparently there's a coffin there. They get a little concerned and they open it up. It turns out to be a deceased body, but it's of a truck driver that went missing a few years ago. So they find that very concerning and confusing. Um, and so again, obviously by that point, the body's been very cremated, but it did match an existing record. It did match to someone that they have found previously. It was even as a cold case, as they never found out who exactly murdered him. But when they were looking at the autopsy photos, they found a tattoo on there. Now the tattoo apparently, according to the big old the main man Smithy, as being a random gang sign that appeared in one of the episodes of the Surviving the Streets videos, and once they compare, it's like, oh my god, it's an exact match. How come this was the case? So now they're starting to really look into it, which resulted in Chen and to an extent Bradford having to look through every single episode Surviving the Streets to find there be any more correlations, anything that stands out, so to speak. Apparently, because it's ancient footage, like it was supposed to be digitized at a certain point, it never did. So now they have to go find out, where to get this footage. Even Smithy, being the master expert of this, is like, I've only watched whatever was available. So there's lost tapes. I never got to watch them. Nolan tried reaching out to the production company, but however, they actually went out of business a few years ago because they're like, again, a data company, and their software and their equipment was actually purchased out by the game show people a few episodes ago. Remember that episode? Yeah, the crossover. Yeah, they're back again, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. No, they had the footage. They watched it for fun when they were high and everything. But sadly, because they needed like active servers, they deleted the equipment and all the files, which included the original episode, so they no longer were available to them anymore. So back to the case at hand, I believe if I remember correctly, so they kind of hit a dead end on like exactly what's going on. So we do more of a deep dive into the guy's history. He has done series of odd choices after being like, oh, obviously they were allowed to have supplementary job. It turns out we found out Smithy was a B movie star, which again, if that means that direct to DVD content, he was one of those random casting in LA that like, hey, you look good, you want to go be in a movie. It's not like a feature length movie. It's not like a theatrical movie. It's just a movie that's going to be released direct to the public. So, it's not going to be the best quality. Smithy was cast in his younger days, and Smithy claimed it as the same thing with the other officer that, hey, I have no involvement. I was just trying to get extra cash. That's it. There's no harm, no foul into that. Which I'm like, yeah, fair point to that. I believe after they search through all the evidence, all the things, they're starting to dive a little bit more deeper into and started to think there's a more demonic approach here. But before we get to the demonic approach of it, there actually was an alien component, as apparently he delved into some of the elusive dark website of the internet, claiming that, oh no, Area 51 was never the true place where all the aliens are kept out there. No. That was just like, why would the government allow people to like kind of park out front there? You make it as like a cultural hotspot. No, the real place is Area 67, which I'm just like, really? Area 67. Okay. So he snuck into the base. Didn't even last too long. He literally got caught and busted in like a matter of seconds. Not even that far. Apparently this was something that like here on the AM radio side, like the cheap radio side, like you can find out more about it. Which sad to say, our good old friend John Nolan was part of it back in the day. Chiming into some radio shows that delve into the conspiracy theory side, which I'm like, damn, Nolan, didn't know you were like that. Did not know. We're learning more things about you every episode. We definitely are. So from there, apparently the reason why he was trying to be one of the colonels or generals or one of the people in charge of the base, for information about their activities and everything of the sort. Obviously, they never got to communicate with each other. Even Bradford had to escort the documentary crew to get inside the facility just to get that interview. And yeah, he doesn't offer up any other solution, doesn't offer any other answers. Just, yeah, he was there. We never got to see each other, and that was kind of the end of that. That was all the end of the business in that one. Going to the demonic side here, finally, they do a little bit more research, a little bit more cross-referencing, and apparently he was involved on a movie set not too long ago, and the director was very, very aggressive. But it was a demonic movie. It was a satanic one. They were bringing up horror movies again, and yeah, they somehow got Wesley into this documentary, which I'm like, again, does it make sense? Why did they have to jump from like Lopez to Harper? Now we're going to establish a whole new documentary shot with Lopez and her husband. Like, it don't make no sense. It really don't make sense. It's just more added layers to the relationship of Lopez and Wesley, which I'm like, I mean, I like it. Don't get me wrong about it, but at the same time, I'm like, we could have just literally stayed with Harper on this. If we already cut Bailey and Miles off the cast this week, we could have done the same thing for Wesley. I don't know if there's a contract in place for that, but yeah, providing more insight to it. Yeah, they filmed that movie. It was really on like the borderline of like actual demonic, realm, as as some directors get a little bit like really into it. Like, it's a bit of a, from what I heard, like I've never watched any of those sort of movies, but like the moment you kind of like delve into things, like, because again, set design, props and everything, you kind of need to really be in that mood, and just that and being in general of like having that be the cadence is like, it was concerning. And obviously the turns out also the officer's short-lived wife actually was on the set of that, which was very helpful at the time of like, it's all going to come together in my own very weird way. From there, they that's when they start to realize, okay, we really need to look at the supernatural element of it. They need some help from it, trying to get a little more details about our fallen former video cop. And guess who they call upon? They call upon Jensen Ackles and motherfucking pardon my French, Jared Padalecki. That's right. If you're unaware, if you're a larger What's in the Tube, yeah, this is a whole, like, to talk about Jared post Walker, to have him on The Rookie is just, it's just wonderful. I love it, to be honest with you. I really, really do. But back to the same point of it, it's like, they're not really here to be consulted. At the same time, it's, just how big The Rookie has become, on the streaming platform. That the fact they're able to pull Jared and Jensen, the two of the biggest, like, they're feeling it now, but I assure you, 10 years down the road, they're going to be cultural icons down the road. Like, just Supernatural being, I think, the CW's defining show ever. Like, you talk about like every single network, everyone, NBC had, I believe it was NBC, had Friends. That's all I know. ABC has Grey's Anatomy, and the CW has Supernatural, where like it's a show that like in its core concept should not have lasted as long as it did, but it did, and that will be the show that like when you think of that network, boom, that's the show. That's the case with the CW and Supernatural. Like, it just transcends. So the fact they're here is so cool, and to get to like talk about Jared again, it's like, I miss the man. I really do. Jared, make another TV show. I know you're on The Boys this season. I'm like, I'm not reviewing The Boys. I'm sorry, but make a new show, and I'll gladly be there. I'm already following Stephen Amell to Baywatch next year. I'll follow you wherever you go to. So go make a new show. But yeah, so they chime in not on the demonic aspect of it. Obviously, they talk about it too. Name dropping it, but the real reason is that apparently our video cop went to one of their conventions to ask them specifically about a specific demon that they fought on the show, and trying to get more insight of like, how do you beat this demon? Do you know anything else? And Jensen's like point blank at them, like, we're actors, like, we just read what's on the script, that's all we know. And he didn't like that answer. And then there's another component at play, where there's this priest that came to that specific set and trying to bless it, trying to make sure that whatever evils may cross over can get stunted back by the blessing of the priest, which sadly has a little bit of a PTSD for Bradford and for Lopez, because when they just finished their rookie year, that was one of their first solo cases in which, sadly, this priest, who was claiming to be a solution to a supposed possession, apparently killed a girl because it was deemed like, I cannot save this girl, I must end this demon right now. When it turned out, in actuality, she had cancer in her brain, so she needed like more specialized help, not a priest. And since the judge ruled this was manslaughter, they sentenced him to prison. So I believe from there, I'm a couple random tidbits I forgot to mention throughout this point. Yeah, the Nolan's no longer about to be daughter-in-law. Keeps knowing the original interviewer of the original documentarian, as he's like, again, he's got his own style, he's got his own interviews, got his own questions to conduct, and she's like chiming in with like the more modern aspect of like true crime documentary editing, and he's like, you are a collaborator, yes, but you are a very weak collaborator. That you do not, but she does not listen, to be honest with you. So from there, they progress onwards with the investigation. No, Bradford and Lopez check back in with that original priest. He only says like, yeah, at the time I know the demon. Yes, I kept copper on me to like ward that evil spirit off me. But the fight continues beyond me. There's another group out there that has been carrying on the fight since you've incarcerated me. So that's probably the next best bet. As apparently, to go back to the video cup, he had this whole conspiracy theory that there was deaths happening that was connected to the demon, and that he might have been the next one specifically. So him having to go in there and stop the chain of chaos, essentially speaking. I'm trying to remember if there's any other major thing before we kind of get to the end. I'm trying to remember, but like this documentary kind of goes by a little fast, to be honest with you. For in good ways and bad ways, you get engaged in the story, like you don't notice the time period anymore. But in reality, I can't remember, to be honest with you. I really can. I know eventually the priest gets them nowhere, and now they're just trying to figure out the pieces, and eventually, without they don't have any more leads, Nolan's not really daughter-in-law finds out that the director might pose a potential lead, so she drags herself and the documentary to meet him off camera to see if like he can provide any insight on the case. Which, when they respond, they find a bunch of people with guns in there, so obviously they get kind of taken hostage. They're ready to go offside, to undisclosed location. However, because they had Nolan and the officers on speed dial, they were ready to go, and so they mean like we're not going to do this dance. Like they immediately get there, they stop them, they get them arrested, and her and the documentarian have a nice sweet moment about like, yeah, we may not match each other's styles, but we definitely like work well together. So I think that was a very nice approach, to be honest with you, on that. So from there, yeah, they take the people to the prisons, to the interrogation room, where one of them, I remember him on The Dark Knight Rises. He was Klaus in How I Met Your Mother. He was in a very heroic monk. He's been all over the place in my childhood, and like to see him again in 2026 is like, damn, dude, you like, I know you're an actor, but like, same thing, echoing what Jensen said. Like, you're an actor, you're just saying whatever the writers are like pointing to picture, but like you are literally like, you said a wonderful line in How I Met Your Mother that forever like impacted my life, to be honest with you. So credit to that. And here he was just he's ready to snitch. He's ready to like yeah, these people are the director is the leader. He's an asshole. He was telling us to do everything. Like, I'll sign a plea deal. I'll do whatever I can to get out of jail. And then Harper's like, yeah, well, actually we know everything already. There is nothing new you can offer to lower your sentence. So no, you will be going to prison too. And he's like, oh man. They bring the director in. He's claiming to be a hero, that he's doing all this to stop this great demon from escaping into the world, and that's all he's doing. And then Lopez and Harper's like, yeah, we're not dealing with this. This entire case took way too damn long to solve. Look, here's all the victims. You have a connection to all of them between your movies. And literally all he says is like, yeah, I know. I did it. I'm the director. I was directing my subordinates to go commit these killings. So yeah, I know. I admit it. And I'm like, damn, that was a pretty frank, open and shut case. And again, like trying to remember anything specifically else that I can remember that I have forgotten in the recap of this. I know I kind of excluded Juarez. She did have some scene, but those are my more like continuity scene, like just pushing the story along, pushing the plot along. That was about it. But other than that, Nolan, once again, on Mike's himself, saying goodbye to the documentary and his ex kind of daughter-in-law, and he's like, hey, well, you guys worked on your first project together, obviously the commitment's over, but do you guys think you'll work together? Is this the start of a beautiful working relationship? And the documentary is like, yeah, I don't know, but I'd be open to it, to the collaboration again, this time on wanted terms. And she's like, yeah, not gonna happen. I actually cut out a sizzle reel during this entire production, sent it to Hulu, picked up already to do my own run of true crime documentaries. And I'm like, wow. And the documentary is like, huh. And I was like, well, you're going to take him too. Like, you're going to raise each other up together. And she's like, yeah, I'll call you. We'll be in touch. I'm like, yeah, we ain't going to see her again. And that was it for this episode of The Rookie. This was a fun episode. This was fun. I love these documentary episodes. They're like very fun. They're very chill. It's just a nice way to like kind of tell a story without, having to follow the usual format. Getting her back, Nolan's ex-daughter-in-law back in. She was fun in the first 2 seasons, and then like obviously her coming back last season was a breath of nostalgia. Now, being back as her own solo character, not attached to anyone in Nolan's family, has been very fun and everything to do. In general, like the matter of this week was, interesting to say the least, bringing in a lot of. I remember there was I don't know if that's her specifically. There was a scene where Nolan's ex-daughter-in-law in the documentary talked to someone who really knows about demons and like the supernatural side of things before we cut into Jared and Jensen. I believe that is, I can't remember her name. She played Supergirl back in the 80s. I think that's her. I'm not gonna even bother trying to say her name, but yeah. So, if that was her, that's great. If not her, you look very identical to the actress. But yeah, so I was very like caught off guard just how much. I'm just again. I love Jared and Jensen. I really do. I watch their projects at times, and it's like seeing them on The Rookie, seeing Jared Padalecki on The Rookie is like, damn, Cordell Walker is here on The Rookie. Never would imagine it. Small world. Now we gotta get. Somehow we got to get John Nolan onto Matlock. I'm joking. The demographics won't work on that one. But, honestly, this was just a very fun episode. I think this was just, I really hope that when we come back next time, it's just like a straight run to whatever the rest of season 8 is going to be from a storyline perspective. I'm looking forward to that. Because I love The Rookie for the ability to be able to kind of like tell a story still in its own unique way throughout the season. And I've already alluded to this 2 episodes ago where like it kind of felt like The Rookie ended the season already, so like we're kind of in this weird like, what more can we do? And I'm like, there's still more we can do. It's just getting back to it, but we'll see how it goes. I just want to get back in that cadence because between last week and this week, it's like it's not like we moved the needle a little bit, to be honest with you. We kind of didn't, but honestly, it's just I'm a sucker for the documentary episode, so I'm like, I don't mind. I really don't mind at all. But again, with that being said, I'm giving this episode 2 thumbs up. Let me know down below what did you think of this week's episode of The Rookie. Did you love it? Did you like it? Let me know down below. I would love to hear your thoughts about it. I would love to have a conversation with you about it. But I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the 8th season of The Rookie. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's to Do besides our Rookie episode reviews. Right now, we are doing Matlock episode reviews each and every week, essentially, after new episodes come out on CBS. But if you don't care about The Rookie, this week we should, after this one gets posted, we should be catching up. We will be essentially caught up by the time we hit the finale. And then from there, we go to our usual rigmaroles. The following week after the finale review gets posted, we will be doing a Season 9 predictions. And then the following week, you will be getting a Season 8 non-spoiler edition review for all of those who have yet to watch the 8th season of The Rookie, which will be available by then in full and completed. But again, if specifically, we will be back in a couple days, hopefully with the next episode review. So stay tuned till then. But yeah, thank you again so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring that bell and follow social media for more. But until we see each other again, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.